Welcome to Behind the Crown Podcast with your hosts, Brian Hudson and Josh Griffin. Sit back and enjoy these great stories and memories of the Kingsmen Quartet.
Welcome to Behind the Crown Podcast with your host, Josh Griffin, and Mr. Full-Time himself, Brian Hudson. How about it, sir? How are you this evening?
Well, Josh, I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. A little chilly down here in South Georgia. It's in the upper 30s right now, so I'm thankful for it.
Well, you know, as soon as you popped on tonight, I saw that sweatshirt you were wearing. I thought, whenever Josh has got a sweatshirt on, it's a little chilly in Georgia. You know, that's a instant clue there that it is chilly in Georgia when Josh Griffin has got a sweatshirt on. So, thank you for joining us on the podcast tonight. This is the Behind the Crown podcast, and this podcast is dedicated to the message, the men, and the music of the mighty Kingsmen Quartet. The Kingsmen are celebrating 70 years in 2026, and this podcast is dedicated to their honor. And man, we're having a great time interviewing these current and former guys in the group, and just getting to hear these stories, Josh. I love it when I hear a story I've never heard before, you know, and I've been around for a while, you know, and so I hear even the stories that before I joined, or, you know, or after I joined, I hear most of the stories through the grapevine, but I love hearing it. I love hearing the stories from the guys that lived it, the guys that were on the stage and on the bus, and just to get to hear from their own words, you know, for sure.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
But, well, let me ask you, Josh, you know, one of the most, I would say one of the most popular segments of the podcast each and every week is our useless information segment. Now, in case people are just joining on the podcast for the first time, we've been doing this segment because a lot of people, and mostly men, have lots of useless information in their brain, you know? We just go through life every day with useless information that most people wouldn't care about. Most people don't really need to know, but we believe it's one of our duties to share more useless information with the world. So, Josh, what piece of useless information do we have for this week?
Yeah. Captain Crunch of Captain Crunch cereals' full name is Captain Horatio Magellan Crunch.
Woo! Say that one more time. Captain Crunch.
Captain Horatio Magellan Crunch.
You know, that's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. I don't know that I could remember that name in full, you know? And and it's funny you say that, because I got a piece of useless information for this week, and it's also about food. It's funny, Josh. We talk a lot about food on a Kingsman podcast.
I love food. Yes.
You know, we're always talking about food all the time. You know? The piece of information I found that German chocolate cake was actually invented in Texas. Most people think the German chocolate cake came from Germany.
Right.
But actually, the guy that invented it, his name was Samuel German, and he created the formula for a baker's chocolate bar, and that formula eventually ended up as a recipe for the German chocolate cake.
Wow.
So let me ask you, Josh, are you a fan of German chocolate cake?
No, because the main reason, usually down here, they're going to put coconut, you know, on it, or little slivers of coconut.
Yeah.
And maybe pecans, and I'm not real crazy about pecans and chocolate and coconut. So, yeah.
Well, I like pecans or pecans, however what do you say? But
Pecans.
I am not a fan of coconut at all.
No.
Okay. I don't like coconut, and I like the smell of coconut, like a coconut air freshener in your car.
Yeah.
It kind of smells like it kind of smells like tanning oil, or, you know, the coconut smell. I had a friend that had a coconut air freshener. He bought a brand new Mustang, and he put a coconut air freshener under each seat. And man, I used to love getting in his car. Man, your car smells so good. It was a coconut air freshener.
Yeah.
But I will say this: Harold Reed, that old tenor singer, he knew I didn't like coconut. And he bought me a candy bar once or something, and it had coconut in it, and he bought it. And I took a bite of it, not realizing there was coconut in it. And he laughed. Him and Philip Hughes laughed for, it seemed like hours, because I took a bite of coconut, and he knew I didn't like coconut. That's pretty mean, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's mean.
Yeah. Did you get any payback?
Yeah, eventually. I'm not sure what I did, but I'm sure I got him back somehow, some way, you know?
Oh, man, that's
Well,
right.
anyway. Well, Josh, who is our special Kingsman alumni for this episode?
Yeah, probably the second yeah, well, yeah, the second most tenor I heard coming up with the Kingsmen, none
Okay.
other Mr. Jeremy Peace himself. Jeremy, how about it tonight? How good to see you, sir.
It's great to see you. You doing okay?
Yes, sir, you?
Wonderful. Doing excellent. Doing excellent.
Good
Well,
deal.
Jeremy, you're
Yes,
looking
sir.
great, man. It's good to see
Well,
you,
thank
brother.
you. You too, my friend. How have you been doing?
Oh, man, I was just hanging right in there and plugging along and hanging in, as my grandmother would say, like a hair in a biscuit.
Hair and a biscuit.
I
That's my tagline there. Oh yeah.
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 Well, Jeremy, thank you, man, for joining us tonight. We realize that your time at home is very valuable, and we appreciate you joining us and taking the time out from your family and talking with us a little bit. We've been having a lot of fun with these podcasts, and man, I'm just glad you're on here with us, and you had a good tenure with the Kingsmen and sang a lot of high notes. And
Oh yes.
I want to ask you, one of the first questions we normally ask is, because you sang gospel music a long time before you ever jumped on the Kingsman bus.
Yes.
So kind of give us a rundown, maybe a history lesson of Jeremy Peace. Like, where did this love for music start? Where did this love for singing start with you?
Oh goodness. Well, my granddad had a gospel group, and from like the '60s on, and he sang bass, and his favorite group was the Kingsmen.
Wow.
Yeah, and so we would do family trips down to Panama City, Florida, when I was a little boy, and he would play old Kingsman tapes. Of course, I'm
Wow.
old then. This is in the '80s.
Okay.
So he would play Kingsman tapes, and we'd be in the back seat just listening, and I'd hear Ernie Phillips and Johnny Perrick and Gary Shepard, and man, I'd love to do that, because you hear them just sing, out of the stratosphere,
Oh yeah.
and I'm like, man, how in the world do they, trying to figure out? And as a kid, trying to figure out how they did that.
Yeah.
And that was my granddad's favorite group.
Wow.
And so when I was about 7 years old, he bought me a bass guitar.
Okay.
And I've actually still got it. My wife always complained. She said, if the house burns down, the first thing you're going to go do is get that guitar, and then you'll come and get the rest of the family out.
Yeah.
But it's just an old guitar from a pawn shop. It doesn't, it's not worth anything monetarily, but
Sentimental value.
But sentimental value to me. And so I learned to play bass and started playing with a gospel group when I was about 8 years old.
Okay.
And I started singing in some solo stuff through those years as I was singing, playing guitar with that group. And then when I was about 11, I started playing bass with another local group called the Cedar Valley Boys.
Okay.
Out of Rome, Georgia. And so I was there till I was 18. I started playing piano. Yeah, I started playing piano when I was 13. Our piano player passed away, and we had nobody else that was interested.
Guess what? You're it.
And I'm it. I'm like, I know 3 chords. That's about it. So they just threw me in the fire, and I went from there and was singing tenor and playing piano. And they sent me to Steve Hurst School of Music.
Okay.
In It was in Nashville at the time. So I went there and learned a lot from him. And then when I was 18, I moved to Texas, down in Houston, and sang with a group called Paul's Journey.
Yeah, I remember you being with those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was there for about a year and a half.
Okay.
And Danny Crawford was the Kingsman. At the time, they were the Carolina Boys.
Yes. Yeah.
And Danny he was producing an album that I was supposed to be singing on.
Okay.
And he heard me and kind of pulled me over to the side. He said, if you ever want to sing, would you ever, want to consider going full time? I was like, man, that's like my dream. And so it was like a month later, the position came open with the Carolina Boys. And so he gave me a call, and I sent him my demo.
Wow.
That's how I got there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Well, I was trying to get the time frame of when you actually joined, because I wasn't for sure if you joined officially when it was still Carolina Boys or was it Kingsmen. So it was Carolina Boys?
It was. I joined in February of 2004.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was still the Carolina Boys. We were the Carolina Boys for about 6 months.
Okay.
And then Ray acquired the Kingsman name again.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Jeremy, tell us about the audition that you had to get the job with the Carolina Boys, if there was one.
Oh, there was one. So I had sent in this work tape,
okay,
audition tape, or audio files, I should say. and emailed. And I had worked so hard, doing this demo, recording it. And one was when he was on the cross.
Okay.
And then I sang God Sits on High, because that was like their current single at the time.
Right.
So I downloaded the soundtrack from Crossroads to sing, and I tried to sing all 4 parts, and I was trying to be super impressive. And I sent it, and then Ray called, and he said, "Well, cousin, he said, you're overqualified for this job." And I was like, I think I was 20. I think I joined when I was 20, 21.
Wow.
And I thought that was him basically telling me no.
Yeah.
Because I never had nobody tell me that before. I was overqualified, and well, I didn't get the job. Oh well. And he was like, no, I want you to come up and audition. And so I was in Houston. So we drove to it was not Tulsa, Oklahoma. Is it Yukon, Oklahoma? I can't remember the name of the town. Anyways,
Maybe.
it was like 10 or 12 hours away. It was a long
wow.
haul. So I drove up there, and I'm thinking, we're going to get on the microphones, and and I'm going to sing, and and it's going to go well. And I mean, in your mind, you have all these ideas and thoughts how things are going to go. You're already playing it out ahead. Well, we get there. Well, they want an audition on the bus with just a guitar.
Okay.
And I hadn't planned in my mind. I hadn't planned for this.
Yeah.
And so they wanted a Glory Road.
Okay.
And so it was me and Tim Surratt
Yeah.
and Jason Self and Ray. And they had a couple of, the band was on the bus and the driver. And then they had a couple of fill-ins as well. They had someone kind of helping out on the lead. And then they had another guy filling in on tenor, and they were there. Okay. And I was nervous. I mean, I was as nervous as a cat's tail in a rocking chair.
Yeah.
And I mean, just scared to death. And so I get ready to sing, and literally nothing would come out. I couldn't get my voice to work. It froze.
Oh my gosh, because you were so nervous.
I was so scared. I was so nervous, because I'm like, this is like, for me at that moment, that was like my dream come true. I like my whole life had accumulated up to that moment, and here I am, and nothing's coming out. And so I finally got some falsetto, like, I can see the lights of home, can see. And it's like just squeaking, trying to get it. I couldn't project. I couldn't. Placement wasn't there. I was so embarrassed. I was like, well, I just blew this audition. And I was looking at their faces, and they're like, this is not the same guy that sent in the demo. And so I'm like, but they also knew I was nervous, and so I'm scared to death. And Tim Sharp was like, yeah, if you weren't nervous, I'd be a little worried.
Yeah.
Because he'd think I'm coming in, full confidence and arrogant.
Plus, how many hours did you drive to get there? So
it was 12 hours. So I was exhausted. I was tired. And so we went ahead to set up sound, and I thought they're going to be nice to me and send me on my way, the consolation prize, a bunch of discs or something to listen to on my way home, And so, because I'd actually had that happen. Most people don't know. About 2 months before that, I had tried out for the Dixie Echoes.
Oh, okay.
And didn't get the job.
Yeah.
And so, and that was because they were singing with 2 microphones.
Yeah.
And Randy is such a powerful, he just overpowered my voice. I was like so young, and I've still had a lot to learn as far as projecting, and I couldn't keep up with him. So they sent me home with a pile of CDs. And so we are, they're setting up, they set up sound, and Ray graciously gives me another try.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we get up, and so they call Shake Hands with the Poor Boy just for audition. Well, by this time, my nerves had calmed down. We've been cutting up and having fun, and I gotten used to everybody.
Yeah.
And so I was able to sing for my audition.
Yeah.
And so we went through a ton of classics, because I was able to do some of the high stuff. And so we went through a lot of the tenor classic stuff.
Yeah.
And so then during the actual concert, they got me up to sing Glory Road.
Okay.
And so thank goodness my voice worked.
Good.
And so, but that was my audition. I was like, I almost didn't make it. We got back on the bus that night, and Ray was like, can I fly you in the next week? I'll fly you in, and you be on the bus the next week. And I said, yeah, please.
Wow.
Yeah, that would just be, a dream come true. So that's how I got the job.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because almost every, and we've talked about this in an earlier episode, just about every tenor, if you're going to audition with the Kingsmen, you'll be doing Glory Road during the audition.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I said,
oh yeah.
In fact, I think I used a statement. If you're a tenor singer in the future, You know,
Be
15
prepared.
years from now, you're going to audition with the King. If it's going to be Glory Road. So
Yeah, every time. Every time.
every time. Because
Yep.
and it goes back to Johnny Perrick. You know, I told him
Yes.
during his episode, I said, man, you're the most emulated tenor of all time. Every tenor that's going to do the little flip, I said, they may not even know who Johnny Perrick is with the Kingsmen, but if they ever do that song, they're emulating Johnny Perrick.
It's required. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually required.
Yes.
Well, Jeremy, I've got some stats here, brother. I'm going to read some stats here on you. Okay.
Right.
So you joined officially as the Inner Carolina Boys before they transitioned back to the Kingsmen, and that was 2004. And then in 2004, they also transitioned back, like you said. Ray took ownership of the Kingsmen in 2004. You recorded "Born Again" in 2004.
Yes.
And off that recording, "You Keep Praying" was on there, and that was a top 10 song in 2005. "The Past Is Past," you recorded that in 2005, and off that recording, "I'll Not Turn Back" was a top 10 song in 2006. The actual song "My Past Is Past" was a great song. Was a top 10 song in 2006, and then you guys recorded "Good Good God," and that was in 2006. And off that recording, you had "Jesus My Lord." That was a top 10 song in 2007. "God Can Save Anybody, Anywhere, Anytime." I love that tune.
Yes,
and that was a top 10 song in 2007. And "Finished Indeed" was a top 10 song in 2008. You had already been gone by then.
Oh, I see.
But you were still on that recording. So, that's a lot of great music right there.
Oh, yes.
A lot of great songs.
Yeah, and that's just touching that's just scratching the surface of the great material that was on all those albums.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I think you guys also you probably did some, maybe one or two budget recordings. You did the budget recordings beside that?
Well, believe it or not, "Born Again" was supposed to have been a budget album. It was supposed to have been, because the Carolina Boys were going in just to do some old Kingsman classics.
Yeah, right.
And it was going to be, what did we call those? Honoring the Heritage albums?
Honor the Heritage, yeah.
Yes. And it was going to be one of the volumes in that series.
Okay.
And then
I didn't know that.
When he acquired the name, Crossroads was like, well, let's just pick some originals to add to it, and then we'll just do a full album. That'd be the release of the new Kingsmen.
Okay, see, I found out something new, Josh. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
The "Born Again" was going to actually be Honor the Heritage.
It was, if my memory serves me correct, that was supposed to be
okay,
a budget album. Yeah, and so and then we were going to actually go back and do another Honoring the Heritage album in 2007, and I came off the road.
Okay.
With the group. So Harold ended up recording, but I actually was part of helping select those songs.
Okay, cool.
For that one, and then I ended up, coming off the road.
Let me ask you about the song "You Keep Praying." That was such a great feature for you.
Yes,
it was. It fit. The time of the song was perfect for the group. There was so much going on.
Yeah.
With and I'm sure he wouldn't mind. With Tim having some vocal issues. He'd been to the doctor, and he'd regained his voice, but we prayed him through that.
Yeah.
And Ray had several health scares. And so there was just a lot of things. And the transition. Back to the Kingsman name. So that song really, the timing was great for that particular song, and just the lives that and you hear this from everybody that has great songs that they're able to be featured on or be a part of.
Yeah,
people coming to the table and talking about situations in their life that they've been on where that song ministered to them.
Right.
So, it was a very timely song.
Well, I will say this, and I think I've said it several times during the life of this podcast. It's really about choosing great songs, and the Kingsmen have always been known for choosing great songs.
Yes,
songs that will minister to people's hearts, because if it doesn't affect us, it's hard for us to convey that from the platform.
It's hard to get it out
to affect someone else. And
100%.
And you and I got to travel together for a few months. And I always enjoyed calling "You Keep Praying" to let you sing that, because I think that fit you well. And there was another one, "I Found Mercy."
Yes,
That was Mercy.
Yes, that was a great song. Diane Wilkinson wrote that.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Her and I want to say Jerry Kelso.
Really?
So I think they cut. I believe. Don't hold me to it. I know Diane was part of it.
Okay.
Because she was wanting us to release it.
Oh, gotcha.
But Tony left, and then I ended up leaving not long after that. So it didn't get released. But it was a fantastic song.
Yeah, you did a great job on that. I remember you sung that. We did the 50th reunion, and you sang it that night, and that was great, man. It's great.
Yeah, I remember that. It's a great night.
During your Kingsman tenure, did you have a favorite song that you like to sing? It might have been one that you sung with the group, or one that you had to feature on, anything like that.
Yes, actually. So part of growing up, and I'll probably share more of this as we go.
Oh, yeah.
But Mississippi Live was such an instrumental album for me.
Yeah.
And so they would bring Shep up to sing Look for Me at Jesus' Feet.
Yeah.
And that song, man, I was like 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
And so to be able to sing that song with the Kingsmen almost every night, that was probably my favorite song to sing.
Yeah.
So just because of the nostalgia and
right.
honestly the message of the song, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, you know, Johnny originally introduced that on Big and Live.
Right.
But I'll be honest with you, I never got to hear him sing that. I heard Shepherd sing that when they brought that back, when Gary Shepherd, they brought that back on Mississippi Live. And Shepherd's version is really what I grew up hearing more than I heard Johnny sing.
Yeah, that was the version I heard. And of course, other groups that sang it, that was the version that they emulated.
Yeah.
Was Shep's version. I didn't even, my granddad, like I said, when we were kids, we listened to, all the tapes and stuff growing up. But, I heard the one with Johnny. It was like a budget type project.
Yeah, okay.
But I never heard Big and Live until years later. So I never heard that version until, like I said, years later. It was always Shepherd's version.
Right. Wow, that's pretty cool. Well, let me ask you, Jeremy, did you have a least favorite Kingsman song when you were there? Now, some guys didn't have them, but some guys did. So did you have a least favorite?
Oh, man, I
like,
do. I do. I can't believe you asked this. I do. And I'll probably get shot for this. I'll probably get in so much trouble. It's bad. But I don't know why, but and it's not Ray. It has nothing to do with Ray. But I think it was growing up. Every group that I sang with, or that that we sang with in a concert or a church, that always sang this song, and I cringe. I promise you, it has nothing to do with Ray. No, I love him, and I cherish this memory of hearing this. But every, I will meet you in the morning.
Eastern Gate.
Yes, the Eastern Gate. And I just, I don't know why. I don't know, but every time we'd kick that off, it'd be towards the end of a concert, and they'd kick it off. And like, here we go again. Sing song my whole life.
That's one of Ray Dean's favorite songs.
It is, and that's why I feel awful. But you asked.
Yeah, well,
so I had to be honest, and it ain't him. It's the song. It's the song.
Well, and I've talked about this back when I was growing up, singing on the weekends with my brother. That's when Excuses was so hot.
Oh, yes.
And so every local group that we sang with sang Excuses. So that's what made me cringe, and I'm thinking, because everybody's trying to do Arnie's part.
Yeah.
You didn't even shake my hand.
Yeah, it's not a thing.
And they're trying to be funny. They're trying to and that's what ruined it. Excuses for me. It wasn't the Kingsmen. It was other groups trying to do.
That's what got me. Yeah.
Wow.
and the meet you.
Yeah.
Meet you. Instead of meet you, it's the chew.
Like meet you. Yeah.
Well, the whole chorus.
I loved how y'all done that song though, because I guess every lineup afterwards that did that, they just build it up toward the end and then just really sell it off. Love that.
Yep.
Well, let me ask you this, Jeremy.
Yes, sir.
Once a Kingsman, always a Kingsman is a motto that has really attached itself with this brotherhood that we call the Kingsman guys. Even though you and I only traveled together for a couple months, I tell people jokingly, I ran Jeremy Peace off, man. I ran him off.
You did not. I promise.
I came in the first part of February. We went to the West Coast, and as soon as we got back to the West Coast, he left.
West Coast ran me off.
No, but
28-day trip.
The 28-day bus trip feels like 3 years, you know, it really does.
Buddy, does it ever?
You
Yeah.
know, but but once you left the Kingsmen in 2007, you actually came back a couple times and filled in.
Yes.
And so how did it feel after you had to step off the bus and you came back in to fill in for a weekend or two? How did it feel singing them Kingsman songs again? Did it feel really cool like it did?
It did, and it gave, you know, because when I left, I was, you know, I'm 42. I'll be 43 in February,
Okay.
and I've got a 19-year-old daughter. I got 4 daughters, and
Okay.
the oldest is 19. And I'm like, it wasn't too long after, you know, I was already with the Kingsmen, and you're almost at that age
Yeah.
when I joined, you know. So I look at her, she's my kid, and I still look at her as a kid, you know. I'm like, she's really an adult, but I look at those early years in my early 20s. I'm like, I was still just a kid. I didn't have a clue,
Yeah.
you know, what I was doing. I won't say that it was closure, because I didn't, you know, there wasn't really bad terms or anything like that. You know, being gone so much, you know, affected me, you know, in many different ways. And so I needed some stability. I needed to be able to come home and, you know, and kind of reconfigure. And so, but going back on the road, you know, with those guys, Ray was still singing bass. He was there.
Yeah. Right.
And so it was me and Alan Kendall.
Okay.
And Philip Hughes was actually filling in for us as well.
Yeah.
So it was almost, it was great, to be honest with you. It was like having a reunion. Brandon was supposed to be there, but he couldn't. He had COVID. This was 2022. And so he ended up having to stay home. But, you know, it was like, I'm not going to say closure, but it was great to be able to reconnect.
Yeah.
You know, especially with Ray and with Phil, you know, and then get to sing with Alan and sing a lot of those old songs.
Oh,
I'm thinking, am I still going to be able to pull this off at 39, 40 years old? You know, but it you know, it went very well. I
saw a couple videos and y'all sounded great. I mean, you really did.
Yeah.
And,
it was like
a lot of it's muscle memory, you know?
It is. You just fall right back into place.
Yeah. And that's what I went through the same thing. Of course, after I left my first changer and went back, I'm thinking, okay, can I do this again? Can I get that quartet voice again? And it came back, you know, so.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of it's muscle memory for sure.
Oh, yes. Yes, it
But
is.
you all sounded great. Seriously. When you and
thank
Phil
you.
and Alan and Ray, that was a good combination. You know?
Yeah, it was. And I'm probably indulging way too much information. So Brandon Reese, if you're listening, and I'm sorry, but there was some texting and phone calls being, you know, trying to, I'll say, solidify that particular, you know, a lineup. But it just, you know, I was not, you know, not in a place to where I would be able to do that.
Yeah, come back.
Yeah, to come back like that. I just couldn't. And Phil was in the same place, you know. The heart was there, the desire, you know, to want to do something like that was there, but it just, you know, the timing and really the Lord's hand on each of our lives just was not where it would allow that.
Right. That's understandable. That's understandable.
That's right. Jeremy, when you was traveling the road, what was your go-to snack? Everything, since we was talking about food earlier, something you like to eat on the road.
Oh, goodness. Well, if I could have had sushi on the bus at all times, that would have been great. But that was not going to happen. So, cheese puffs, just junk, you know. I bet I put 30, 40 pounds on when I went with the Kingsmen.
Wow.
And of course, and then Tim Stewart was trying to get me to start drinking diet drinks, and I couldn't. We'd stop at a Chinese buffet, and I'd eat 2 or 3 plates and wash it down with Coke or Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
And, you know, this was before Coke Zero came out or any of the zero stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So it was all diet, and it just tastes like cough syrup. I couldn't do it. So, but just junk like ice cream and all the popcorn. Be like, I remember, because I burned it one time, and Ray got so aggravated with me because it stunk up the whole bus.
Smell burnt popcorn on the bus.
It was bad. It was so bad.
And he could eat some popcorn. Ray could eat the popcorn.
Yeah, and I love popcorn. That was probably my go-to snack, really.
Okay.
Was popcorn, but I burned it that one time. It was not good.
I bet he said, "Cousin, that smell. You get out of here, cousin."
Yes. Oh, open that vent in that bathroom. Get that smell out of here, cousin. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Man. Well, Jeremy, what was one of your favorite things about being on the road? What was one of your favorite things about being on the road?
Oh, goodness. I enjoy meeting other people. fans. Most people would not realize this, but I'm actually shy and introverted to an extent, unless, until I get to know somebody.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that can be perceived as, I'm haughty or, stuck up or prideful. And that's like the least of who I am.
Yeah.
But I'm just really quiet. And so, but in that, I would watch people. I'd just be quiet and sit back and just watch other people. And you go to different churches, different states, different towns, and see people's idiocracies and see their personalities and see how they handle themselves or how they dress or how they, so that was one of the things that, or getting to meet those people that come to the table and just say some of the craziest stuff at times, and it never made, none of that ever made me mad. There's one instance I got a little upset at something, but other than that, I'm just internally, I'm just laughing my head off. I'm like, you're coming back here telling me, boy, I remember back in the 1970s, me and Big Jim Hamilton. And I'd be like, no, it was Hamill, or Ray Fox.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it was, and you couldn't correct them.
Oh, no.
You did, and they knew, that they've been to my house. I know them. That big Ray Fox. I'm like, I'm telling you, I promise you, it's not Ray Fox. We're gonna go with that. We'll go with it.
You just get to a point where you say, you know what? You just shake your head and go, yeah, okay.
You just agree with them. And I learned that real quick. I learned don't argue. But that was some of my was probably that and sitting up front, during the long hauls, because at that time Ray was still driving.
Yeah.
And so, sitting up and picking his brain, talking to him, asking him how in the world, because he was like almost 40 years at the time, traveling full time with the same group. How did you pull that off?
Yeah.
40 years with the same group, And so he would dive into all kinds of details and stories, from the past. And I just sit up there, take it all in.
And he's got stories, man. Ray Reese has got stories.
I wish he'd write an autobiography. I wish he'd write a book.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, but to be honest with you, Jeremy and Josh, most people wouldn't believe half what he put in there. They say, "Oh, that didn't happen."
He's just no.
He probably did.
Yeah.
He probably did.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking about your favorite thing on the road, what would be your least favorite thing about life on the road?
Being gone. That was such, and that's probably a lot of people's.
It is.
Yeah. I would imagine it's so hard to have a family, to be married or have a family. And I tell this to my kids because all four of them were born, and I was still on the road at one time.
Yeah.
And I came off the road in 2019, and so my life has completely changed. From the road life. And so, but that was such a hard thing for me because there's a lot of loneliness that's involved.
Yeah.
And I know this sounds super depressive, and I'm not trying to sound depressive here, but I'd sit in the lounge and the bus window be popped up, and I'd gaze out the window and just kind of feel like I'm watching my life, drive by me.
Yeah.
And and that's just me. That's just how I. So that was probably the hardest thing for me on the road.
Yeah.
Was just being gone.
Yeah. And most of the guys have said that. Almost every single current guy and, alumni has said that. It's just the amount of being gone, not that we're martyrs and
No.
It just a lot of the people that they just really, because they don't know. They just don't realize.
They don't see it.
They might see you one time a year in the same building, the same church, or the same auditorium, and they don't see the other days and the time getting to the bus, the time and the driving to get to the dates, and just the amount of being gone. And then you've got to add studio time in there where you're taking 2 or 3 days when you're home to record the next recording, and it's just a lot of time being gone.
It's
you got to have a good support system.
Yes.
But there's days that it's a very lonely type of distance,
Yes. Yeah.
And then on top of that, then when it's time to go and sing, you're expected to do your best.
You're buddy.
To be on top of your game every night. And the voice sometimes don't want to cooperate.
Oh no. I struggle with allergies so bad. And there's so many, especially at convention.
Yeah.
That was probably my other least favorite thing on the road was struggling with the allergies. And it seemed like anytime I mean, we could be singing at a church with 100 people, and I wouldn't have a lick of trouble.
Yeah.
And my voice would just work perfect, for me. And 2 weeks later, we're at NQC and they're videoing everything, and I've got laryngitis because allergies have hit and I'm shut down. And it just seemed like every video or recording or everything that we did, I'd go back and listen. I'm like, I was sick there. I was sick there. And it was just constant, just because of allergies and sinus infections. And that was probably my second least favorite thing. I remember one time Ray said, cousin, are you ever going to be consistent, or are you just going to be consistently sick all the time?
Oh, mercy.
I'm like, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, you can't help it.
I can't help it.
Yeah, you
I can't help that I can't help you park next to the horse stables at convention. And by Friday, my voice is shut down from my allergies. So
well, and that's the thing. Like I said, the voice, man, you've got the same voice every single night, and you
and
open
people are
your mouth,
expecting it.
Okay, I'm feeling pretty good. You open your mouth, and it's just not there. And if you don't get enough rest, it's going to affect your voice. If you don't drink enough water, it's going to affect your voice. If you're talking too loud, it's going to affect your voice.
Oh yeah,
all this stuff.
There's so many variables, and even Pavarotti's, he's one of his things is I never sing 2 nights in a row. That's from Pavarotti, the great tenor, and here we are singing
4 and 5
19
nights
days. Yeah, you're going on a long trip. Out west, you're singing 18 days straight.
Yes,
before you get a break.
Straight,
wow.
And you start and you sing high, and you put a tenor above you.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're wearing yourself thin by day 18.
Oh gosh, yeah. I told this story. It's not my interview, but I'm gonna tell the story one more time.
Go for it.
We did a West Coast trip and we sung 17 nights in a row. And the 17th night of that trip, we were at Dr. Jeremiah's church. Okay. And they had all the video cameras. Guys, we're going to do a video tonight. And we walked out there and I couldn't sing. I had no voice. Jerry Martin had no voice. Ray had no voice. And I think we had some technical problems. The bass guitar player or something, we walked out, he forgot to plug his guitar in for the first 2 songs or something. But anyway, but we couldn't save any of it because we would have had to overdub the entire recording because we were all vocally shot. I thought, so from then on, I said, man, whoever hears us on the 17th night, they're going to get the worst Kingsman concert they ever got.
Yes. You try to be. That happened on the Born Again album.
Okay.
And again, I'm probably sharing way too much.
No, go ahead.
But it was like an 18 or 20-day trip, and we came back, and we came back on that Monday morning, and we got off the bus and went and started doing vocals.
Wow.
Well, my voice sounded like someone had taken gravel and poured it down a garbage disposal and turned it on.
Oh my gosh!
It was all like rocks in a garbage disposal, and it wasn't just me. I mean, Tim. And Tim was there. His voice was doing the same thing. We were all tired, wore out. And I remember on day 2, Danny Crawford, he was producing, and he basically sent us home. He said, "Well, y'all got the Kingsmen name, but y'all don't sound anything like the Kingsmen," and we had to. He just thought it was awful. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Danny. I rag him about it to this day. About him saying that. I said, it really hurt my feelings, Danny. I can't believe that you would even say something like that. And he laughs now, but they sent us home to try to get some rest.
Yeah.
And we came back the next week and finished it up and everything. Yeah. But I listened back to it, and there's several songs where we didn't overdub. No, and they kept me hot in the mix to kind of cover some things. I'm like, I was the last one that you needed to be keeping hot in that mix because it's awful. Like when I wake up to Sleep No More, I'd cringe even hearing that song on that album because I remember that's one of the first songs we cut because it was one we all knew. And it was easy to do. And I again, it sounded like rocks in a garbage disposal. Yeah. But that's after one of those 18-day trips.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Goodness.
Things that people don't know.
There you go.
The things they don't know. Yes, exactly right. Well, you had touched on this a minute ago about things that fans has said to you that's kind of off the wall and crazy. Can you give us one that just blew your mind that somebody said to you?
Oh, okay. Does it have to be Does it have to be?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Because they were saying I had them come to me and be like, "Well, you sing really great, but you're no Mariah Carey," and I'm like. Well, I'm not trying to be, but okay. I guess it's because I sing high.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
but, or they'll come back, you don't talk like a tenor singer. I thought you were, I'm like, well, cause I choose to talk in my chest voice. I don't talk in my mixed voice.
Yeah.
Cause I don't want to sound funny. But the worst one, like I said, people would come to the table and they would say all kinds of things. And like I said earlier, I just kind of laugh it off. It didn't bother me. But the one that did, I was with Lefebvre's and Jordan, if you're listening to this, don't get mad at me. I got to tell this. So we're there, and this gentleman and his wife comes to the table, and they basically, in front of everybody, put Jordan down. For his appearance.
Okay.
And they basically said, you're, why don't you lose some weight? Why don't you do whatever? Yeah, I mean, just blatantly.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and it was, and he used a joke.
Okay.
Basically, have you ever thought about doing some arm exercises so that way you could push yourself away from the table?
Oh my God.
Yes. And for some reason, and I'm not a liar, and my kids are upstairs, so if they hear me, I'm not condoning lying.
Yeah.
But Jordan just put the stuff down and he walked to the bus. It got him.
Wow.
And it flew all over me. I said, because they were like, what, wondering why he walked off. And this is awful. And if y'all need to cut this out of the interview, go for it. It's just candid, very candid. I said, listen, he just got a really bad health diagnosis and they put him on medications about 6 months ago. And I said, he's really serious. I'm not even gonna tell you what I told him it was, but I told him what it was. It was really bad because I wanted them to feel like a hill of beans.
Yeah.
And I said, so he's on medication and it has caused him, a substantial amount of weight gain. I said, so it's, not only the sickness is getting to him, I said, but then the weight gain has got him. I said, so that's why he walked off. And his wife, that guy's wife, was beating him with her purse.
Oh
my God. She was letting him have it. Now I had lied through my teeth that whole time, but I was so mad. I wanted them to feel just a little bit of the embarrassment that they had caused.
Wow.
Jordan. And I'm like, when in reality, Jordan did all the driving. So you're sitting there, 15, 16 hours at a time, you're awake and you're trying to keep yourself awake.
Yeah.
And so that, that can happen. I'm like, I don't see the sacrifice that he put in to even get here.
Yeah.
Yep.
How dare you say something?
And being on the bus, man, it's easy to put on weight. It's easy to put on weight because you get done at a concert at 11 o'clock, you're starving.
Yes.
And if you go to Waffle House and you find a Denny's or you find a Whataburger, man, you're going to eat it. Because you're starving.
Somebody's brought banana pudding and put it in the
like that
bus.
banana pudding.
Yeah, cousin. Before Ray gets a hold of it and eats it all. Yeah.
Yeah, he will. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Well, let me ask you, Jeremy. If you could pick 3 singers, past or present, from any group to join you in a scrap iron quartet.
Oh wow. Okay.
Who would you pick to sing a song with or do a concert with? Any 3 singers, past or present, from any genre, any group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it don't have to just be the Kingsmen.
No. Any 3 singers.
Well, okay. So, and I'm not saying this because you're sitting here doing the podcast.
Okay.
But, I didn't, even though you come and sing with us, you sing baritone.
Right.
So we didn't really get to, I didn't get to sing with you as far as a lead singer.
Right.
And so when you did come, that was one of my concerns. Obviously not that you couldn't do it. I was glad that you were there. But I thought, he's a lead singer. What in the world is he doing coming back to sing baritone? That's because and not only is he a lead, he's really a tenor singer. He's not even a lead singer, he's a tenor. And so I'm thinking, what and how is this going to work? Because Philip's a tenor singer and Brian's really a tenor singer.
Yeah.
It's going to, that next album, I can only imagine how high that thing's going to be keyed. We're going to be out the roof. So, but anyways, if it were me, it would be me and you and probably Trammell.
Okay.
As far as baritone. I mean, it's just iconic and in his voice. And Tim Riley.
Wow.
As far as on bass. Yeah. For me, Tim had the full package. He had the tone, he had the cut, and he could just sit on the bottom of a note like it was nothing.
Oh yeah. I used to love to go in to hear Gold City do sound check. Just to hear Tim Riley.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Just during sound check, just hitting notes that hitting notes that bass singers would just dream
I would
of.
dream of hitting,
He's just warming up. You know, it's amazing.
Yeah. That would be my lineup.
That would be cool. Thank you for that, man.
Yes, sir.
Jeremy, what particular singers inspired you over the years?
Oh, so, growing up, obviously I heard Ernie and I heard Johnny and Gary, and that was, being my granddad.
Right.
Mississippi Live played such a huge part of my life growing up. But, going into, 12, 13, 14 and on up, I ended up in foster care. And so a lot of people don't know this,
right.
So I ended up in foster care. And so during those years, and I'm not trying to make you feel old, but during those years, it was Ray and Parker and you and Jerry.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like the I Will album was so, like, that's almost like the soundtrack of my teenage years.
Wow. Okay.
And during the albums that came out during that, during those years were so instrumental, thank God I was in, when I got put in foster care, it was only just, I didn't get thrown around different homes.
Okay.
I got to stay in with one family. He was the bass player for the local group that I sang with. So they took me in, under temporary custody until they could finish up their foster care classes, and then it was official. So, and thank God, till I was 18, I lived there.
Yeah.
And I left there and moved to Texas, to go out on my own.
Right.
But, but singers like you were so instrumental, the songs that you sang. Jerry Martin, if I could just, if I could have like 5% of his ability, man, I go back and watch, because now we have YouTube, and so I'm able to, or there's a Kingsman fan page. And it's funny, just 2 or 3 nights ago, I was laying in my bed, and my 15-year-old comes and gets in the bed and watches these Kingsman videos with me.
Yeah.
And I'm flipping through, and we're watching some what I just call bootleg videos, people's home videos from their cameras, their cell phones, and just watching, and then at that time, it was obviously on VHS or something, but old stuff from back when it was you and Jerry and Parker.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Who was that?" And so she was showing interest in, because it caught her like it caught me all those years.
Right.
But I would say that lineup, like you and Jerry and Parker and Ray, and Tim Surratt, that was, man, what a, like Georgia Live. I think that was right before you came on.
Yeah.
And I used to tell people, if there was 1,000 singers in a crowd singing, I could pick out Surratt's voice.
Absolutely.
It was so iconic.
Yeah.
And so, but just, and God blessed me, to be able to sing with Surratt.
Yes.
For several years. And then you came on board, for at least 3 months. I was there.
3 months.
Yeah. And so, So I would say those are probably some of the iconic voices, from that I've been, that I've looked up to and enjoyed all these years.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
When did you know that full-time gospel music, traveling? When was that? When did you know that's what you wanted to do?
Oh goodness, so much of it was ingrained in me as a kid. My granddad, he wasn't full time. They would have loved to go full time, and God love us so. I hope my family's not listening on my granddad's side, but he couldn't sing a lick. So he was the bass singer. Now I will say that the 3 parts, is an alto and a lead and a baritone.
Yeah.
And they stayed on their parts. Their pitches were good. They were pretty good for a local group. But he would sing the melody an octave under the leads, a couple octaves under whoever was singing the lead.
Okay.
So and now as far as like low, he was low. An A or B flat was nothing for him.
Wow.
But he just wasn't a good singer, and he couldn't hear harmony.
Gotcha.
And so that, obviously that affected, I don't think he knew any better, didn't know any different. No one ever told him, I guess. But, but I knew I wanted to do something in gospel music just from growing up and, and then traveling and singing. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I was going anyways. I'd go to school Monday through Friday. And then I'd get on the bus after, a lot of times the bus would come by the school and pick me up on a Friday because we had to go. we'd have to go down to South Georgia or what we call South Georgia. It was really Atlanta. It was Buckner's down in in Jackson, Georgia.
Yeah.
And we'd sing there. Yeah. Yes, sir. They used to have gospel concerts in the 90s. And we'd go down there and sing. And so I knew then, that's what I wanted to do. But the bug hit me,
pretty early on.
Early on. Oh, yeah. And honestly, that's what I trained to do. I went to Steve Hurst, and then Steve took an interest in me, worked under him.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, when I was 18 years old, I hopped on a bus. That's a funny story, but I don't want to take everybody's time. There was a funny story about that bus. The year before, I was at convention, and me and the little group I was singing with, me and my brother and another guy, we were picking out the ugliest buses in the parking lot at convention. And that next year, I joined a group, and they were coming down from Pennsylvania to pick me up to go to Texas, and it was the ugliest bus that we had picked out. It was that bus. I'm like, God got a sense of humor.
Yes, he does.
So, man.
Yes,
it was that bus. So no, Rod, that's no slam to you. I promise. If you're watching this, my old boss. But it was that bus.
Yeah, he has a sense of humor. Just when you think, just when you think well, I tried to learn years ago not to make fun of singers. Okay,
buddy, I learned that early.
Oh my gosh! One night we were in Texas. It's a little bitty Opry, because Texas has got Opry's in every little town.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yep.
And this person was out singing, and we were kind of backstage. And it was me and Jerry Martin and maybe Andrew Ishii, and whoever was up singing, it was awful. It was awful. And I'm like shaking my head, and and I couldn't see them, but I could hear them.
Oh yes.
And oh my gosh, I was like, that is awful, guys. That's terrible. And laughing. And I walked out on the stage and introduced us. And it was like the Lord had cut my throat. I couldn't sing. I'm serious. My voice was gone.
Yeah.
And it was like the Lord said, yeah, you want to make fun of them people? I'll show you.
Yep. I've had almost the exact same. There was a tenor for another group. He thought he was, he had a very, very arrogant attitude most of the time. And we were going to be with them that weekend. Big concerts, us and them and another big group. And I thought, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to wear him out. I'm going to just make him forget, And you know what happened? My allergies hit, and I didn't have a voice. Nothing the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Ray was so mad. He's like, will you just let me know next time you're sick so I can get somebody to come fill in?
Oh, gosh.
Yes. I'm sorry. I didn't know I was going to get sick on Thursday when we left.
The Lord has a sense of humor for sure.
So I said, I'll never do that again.
No.
You learn your lesson. I'm going to show somebody up.
Let me switch for a serious question for a minute.
Yep.
Was there a special moment on the platform that you can remember where God really moved in the service that you were there? That you really felt? I mean, you really felt His presence. Was there a special moment that really comes to mind?
Yeah, we were with the McCameys, in Pennsylvania, and I would, we were, for some reason they put us on after the McCameys. There's some groups that you work with that you don't want to sing after.
Yes,
whether it be the Hensons or the Magruders, the Inspirations when they were, really on their game. Of course they're doing fantastic now, but and so. For some reason we were after the McCameys, but the McCameys were backstage.
Okay.
And we were singing, and I don't know if obviously you can't look backstage to see, because you're facing the audience.
Yeah.
But we were doing "Look for Me at Jesus' Feet," and that there's a difference when people are excited because you're there and you're singing their favorite song, and they're what I call swinging from the chandeliers and throwing babies, And there's a difference in that. And then there's a difference when there's that electricity of, you feel like the Holy Ghost is moving, and touching people through a song. Even though you're building the momentum and you're doing the things that you know to do, that you're trained to do night after night, there's still that special moment when you know that, okay, this isn't just my voice. That's got them, or our four parts that are, the band that's driving home. There's something else going on here. There was people shouting. It was so much reminiscent of some of the albums from the Kingsmen, like Dayton Live or, Big and Live. And I'm like, this is those moments that they experienced years ago, that we're experiencing. And I thought, is Peg back there like kicking her shoe off, causing the audience to, like I wasn't about to turn around and look back, but I felt, that at that moment that perhaps the Holy Ghost had come that moment and was dealing and working with people through that song, whether they had been a loss in a family member. It might have been for the whole audience. It might have been just for one particular person that was there that night. But, I think, because so much of what we do is entertaining.
Yes.
Not that it's entertainment, obviously it's Christian music, it's gospel music, and your focus is ministry, but, so much of it can be entertaining. And so at that moment, I felt like all that went out the window. For that moment. And it's like from that point forward, I thought to myself, do these guys, do we know what to do with this? Hamill's not here. Because it was me and this was early on. It was like me and Philip and Jason Self and Ray was doing a lot of the MC work. But Ray didn't talk. He just kept calling the right songs. After that, and from that point forward, until our set was over, it rode that whole set. There's that set, the songs he called, because the program changed. You kind of go out with an idea of what but it changed. And I thought, well, he does know how to handle that. He handled it very well. Like I said, that was probably the most, and I hate to use the word electric, or energized moment, but you could tell there was a difference between, somebody was being ministered to. There was somebody getting help.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man.
That's right.
Well, let me ask you a next question. You talked about Ray Dean and Ray Dean knew what songs to call. And and a lot of that is, and from being in not just the Kingsmen, but years in gospel music, you have to have somebody that can sense where God wants you to go, the direction that He wants us to go.
Right.
But most people realize that Ray Dean has slowed down considerably. He turned 86 years old, and I talk to him every now and then. I usually call him when I got a crazy joke to tell him. I'll call him and tell him.
Oh yeah.
And but so, how was it traveling with such an icon in gospel music like Ray Dean?
My first, like growing up, I mean, those were names that were, if you think like Beyonce, or you think James Brown, or you think Sting, or these great singers and these classic, artists, that people idolize. Well, I didn't grow up idolizing any of those people. I grew up idolizing Big Jim Hamill and Ray Reese and Lil Ernie Phillips and Arthur Rice and all these singers that came through the lineup with the Kingsmen. That was, honest to goodness, that was who I idolized, and those were people that I imitated. I can remember Mississippi Live, that album, in my bedroom, learning how to sing harmony by listening to that tape over and over and breaking it, and them having to buy me a new one, and and so but and then to be able to travel with Ray and you don't know somebody until you travel with them.
That's exactly right.
And that can be a great thing, and it can be a not so great thing. And I'll just say, Ray can be corny and cheesy, on stage. That's part of his, that was part of his, just that's him being funny. That's him. But what a lot of people don't know is Ray is super intelligent. And he's very, I won't say, obviously he's intelligent. He's very intellect. And so there was so many moments. I think he realized that when he got me, he got a kid.
Oh yeah.
Not one of his own. He's going to have to raise another kid, because I was, I came out of a foster home, and they did great with me, and I owe my life to them. They, but they weren't much older than I was. And so, so they, as far as, Ray stepped in, taught me how to shave, taught me how to take care of myself, how to, I went and get my first apartment. I didn't have a down payment. I'm telling you, I was a mess. I was a wreck. and so he'd take a little bit out of my check and save it for me and help me, taught me how to budget, so when it come time to get my first apartment in Nashville or in Candler, he'd help me save and have all the deposits and all. And so he taught me so much,
That's awesome.
from that, and a lot of his, he would ask me a question and I would say, "What was that?" And he'd say, "Nah, you heard me the first time. You just want me to repeat it so it gives you time to think about what your response is going to be." I'm like, "You're right. You're exactly right. Yeah."
Hey.
So, but he taught me those things. He'd say, I used to be a drill sergeant back when I was in the forces, and I learned all those things.
Yeah.
But he passed a lot of that down to me. And so I owe so much to Ray. He gave me my opportunity in this business, and to travel with him. I will say, he, what you see is what you get, and he's a man of integrity.
He is.
I can't think of one bad or negative or even neutral thing to say about Ray Reese. Everything, every memory, everything that he was everything that I was hoping that he would be.
Yeah.
He never disappointed me. I was never, and I know we're all human,
Yeah.
But if he said he was going to do something,
he did it.
He's going to do it.
Well, do you have a funny Ray Reese story?
Yeah.
I do, and I wish I could have been there to actually, it was I believe if my memory serves me correctly, it happened before I got there, and he would be so mad if I shared this probably. And then you've probably heard it. Tim Stewart was producing the album, and they said that I was in the studio, and they wanted him to sing the next note up.
Okay.
And so he goes, and they're like, "No, Ray, it's the next note." And he go, "No, Ray, no, and it was the same note, but he'd raise it. He just raised his head, go up instead of the note.
Yeah.
And
that's pretty good.
Why would I miss something? How do I miss something like that? So that or and he loved banana pudding.
Yes, man, he loved banana
pudding.
pudding.
And people would bring him. I mean, there'd be sometimes we'd have 2 things of banana pudding for 2 different fans that showed up.
Yeah.
To bring him banana pudding. But my mama one time, she thought she shipped my biological mom. We ended up, in my 20s, I was able to be in contact with her. And so she'd come. Okay. It was her dad that liked the Kingsmen. And so, of course, she loved the Kingsmen. And so she would show up and she brought banana pudding. But I guess in that car ride over to the concert at the Georgia Mountain Center, it had the bananas had turned brown.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep. And so I never have the heart to tell her. And she had made him some banana pudding. And he pulled back the aluminum foil on that. And he said, "Cousin, I know your mama made this, but I can't eat this. It's brown."
These brown bananas.
Yeah, I can't eat these brown bananas, cousin. So you're right, Ray. I wouldn't eat it either. So we just won't tell her. And she since passed on, so I can tell that story and not get tore up about it. But yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
Jeremy, you have a hidden talent or hidden talents that most gospel music fans don't know about?
So much of what I did is music. I always wanted to be a bass singer. I ended up being a tenor singer. I could probably, I could sing bass for some local group. I don't know if you count that as a talent or not.
I think so. Yeah.
But I play a little bit of piano, a little bit of bass. Nothing, people are like, "Man, you're doing great." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you get like Nick Succi or Jason Self or Tim Stewart or, Andrew Reese or somebody that can really play." And I'm like, I'm not about to sit down and play in front of those people. I'm going to keep those talents hidden.
Yeah.
So I can do enough to get somebody by, but I like to paint. I don't get a lot of time to paint, but like watercolors and acrylics. Yeah. I've done a few paintings here and there. That's kind of a hidden thing, hidden talent.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about your salvation experience.
Yeah.
When did you accept the Lord as your Savior?
When I was 6 years old, I knelt down because my friend Tommy got baptized and he got attention. And so I wanted attention too. I wanted to get baptized. And so I asked what I had to do. And the preacher says, you got to get saved. And so, I repeated a prayer, knelt down with my grandparents and said a little prayer and got saved, and got baptized, and so by the time I was 13, kind of a repeat of the same story, and so, and I'm saying all this to get to a point, but, in my 20s, kind of, I look back, I'm 25 years old and I'm 25 or 26, and I'm looking back, at some of my past and, things that you're not proud of and things, that you've done that you don't feel, you're like, how could I be saved and do those things? How could I, be a Christian and say those things or act that way or be that way, And so I'm thinking, and the only thing I need to do is to get saved again, and not that I'm, putting anybody down that's had that story, or had that experience, but for me, so I went through the process again and got baptized again. And so, fast forward a few years and you're like, there's been no change.
Yeah.
And I'm just, you asked, and so I'm being, I'm being candid and I'm being, honest for
that's
me,
what we want.
for me. And, again, this is not, I'm not putting anybody down that may have been in the same situation that I'm in, but you find yourself questioning, yourself and questioning your motives and, and so I would pray because I wanted change. I wanted real change. I didn't want this feel good. I've got down here and I'm crying my eyes out because I've done something or because I'm called or because, I'm feeling, condemned, over something that I'm doing or, because I can't change myself. And so there came a point in my life to where I said, there's got to be more. There's got to be more to this than just, me going to a church and hearing a choir sing 3 songs or a praise team and a preacher preaching a sermon and me going home and living however I want to. Why am I not changing? Why am I not? Why is there no true change in my life and no true change in my family?
Yeah.
And I believe that when you're seeking and you're searching for more, God will answer that. And
He absolutely will. Yeah.
And so for me, a lot of people don't know this. When I was in my early 20s, there was an apostolic preacher that came to a gospel concert. He loved the Kingsmen.
Okay.
And he talked to me, but I didn't want anything to do with any of them. And so I walked away from it. I didn't, but he prayed for me all those years. And so we had something happen in our family. I had we were singing, I was with the Kingsmen Quartet at the time, and we had a Pentecostal preacher. We'd sing at his church, and afterwards he begins to prophesy over me. Now, I didn't believe in any of this.
Yeah.
I didn't believe in prophecy. I didn't believe in speaking in tongues. I didn't believe in, all of, that belief system. But he began to prophesy things over me that only he could have known. I'd never met the man before and things that Mike didn't know. And so I'm like, there's got to be something to this.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, so I reached out to the gentleman that I had met all those years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, we're going to be on a cruise ship with you in February, the Singing at Sea cruise.
Yeah.
And so I can sit down and explain some of this on how we got this right. And at this time I'm trying to figure out, what's God's will in my life? Why am I not changing? I'm going to church. I'm trying to do all the right things, but there's no change. And I want to experience and change. I don't want to live the rest of my life, the way that I am. I just don't.
Yes.
And so there's got to be more. And so long story short, we begin to read the Bible and he begins to, present to me, the truth and of the gospel. And I saw myself for who I really was at that moment. And, just to be flat out honest with you, he presented things, and showed me, the truth of the Bible and, salvation. And I thought, well, what do I got to do to get this? Because, I was hungry for change. I was hungry for something to be different in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he explained it to me. And I'm just, if you'd have told me that I was experiencing those things, I'd have told you I got some oceanfront property in Kansas I'd like to sell you, because I didn't believe in any of it. And so, and again, this is my this is me. This is my salvation experience. This is what led to true change for me. And so he baptized me for the remissions of my sins. And I came up out of there was a hot tub. There was one hot tub because, they're shutting down all the pools and hot tubs. This is
right.
like 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And so, but there was one that was open. For some reason, it was open. And so he baptizes me and I came up speaking in tongues.
Wow. Yeah.
And so for me, it was a different experience. And I had been searching, and again, that's that this is this is for me.
Right. Right.
And so, and there was something different.
Yeah.
I felt the Holy Ghost, not just from an experience or not just from an energetic concert where the Holy Ghost may have worked in that situation, in that concert, but I felt it a genuine change for me where it didn't feel like it was just a feel good experience. And I'm going to walk away and doubt. There was no doubt in my mind that something had changed because there had been evidence of being filled of the Holy Ghost, but that was an experience for me. And I called my wife and, because my foster dad's a Baptist pastor, my foster granddad's a Baptist pastor. Her dad's a Baptist pastor, and her granddad's a Baptist pastor. And I thought she's going to leave me. She's going to divorce me for sure.
This guy's lost his mind. No.
He's lost his mind, but she was praying the same. She'd been praying the same things. There's got to be more. There's got to be something different than just what we've been experiencing. So 2 weeks later, I take her to meet the same pastor, and we're having a Bible study and just praying, and she begins to speak in tongues. She gets it. And you got to understand, and I had been in concerts, been in churches. I had heard, people speak in tongues, but it wasn't something that I could just learn on my own.
Right.
And she had never been around it. Yeah. And these people that were praying were not praying in tongues to where she could copy it or mimic it.
Yeah.
And so she got the same experience. And I'm thinking, Lord, there really is something, for us that, that can change who we were. Yeah. And so she got baptized. And then, we found a Pentecostal church, and all four of my daughters have, experienced this. And so and long story short, that's what's brought me to Dallas. I'm here with the guys that I, under the guys that I sing with, and we don't sing very much. We do about 10 or 12 dates a year. But he's a pastor, and he took me under his wing, for pastoral training.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm here in Dallas, and we felt led to come here and start a church here in Dallas.
Wow.
So that, I try to summarize as quick as I could.
That's awesome, man.
But that's but there's been a change. I'm not the same person that I was when I was, on the road, and that's, not that I was a bad person. I'm not saying that I was a bad person, but I'm just saying that's
right.
The things that I struggled with, the thought process and my actions and how I may have handled myself and it's not the same, and I can go to bed and lay my head down at night knowing that I'm not the same person, that God delivered me, and that there's been a change, and that's been 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm that same person. I've been the same person for 7 years. God changed me, changed my family, changed our whole trajectory.
Yeah. So. Man, that's an awesome story, because too many times some churches, I'm not going to say any denomination. I'm just saying there's churches all across the board who say, if you say this prayer, you're saved.
Yeah. And that's all I knew.
I believe in the sinner's prayer. We're not going to go get theology tonight, but
exactly.
There's too many times we tell people, if you do this and this and this, you're saved. And there's no, like you said, there's no change in our life.
There's no change. And
when the Holy Spirit comes in, there'll be change.
Yes. And you hit the nail on the head. And I'll say this, for me, it took this to change me. That's what it took for me to believe in the Holy Ghost to infill me.
Yeah.
Because all I'd had before was easy believism, just like you had said, just say a little prayer and then you're saved. But that's all I knew to do. And that's all anybody,
right.
That's the only help that I ever got.
Yes.
And I'm not, and for some people that work, that works. Yeah. But for me, it took something different, for me to be able to experience that.
Yeah.
That real change.
And I've also seen people where they do that. Then they're tempted after they make a confession, and they realize they can't live that. Yeah. So they walk away completely.
Oh yes.
And say, well, whatever happened back here didn't happen. Yeah. So I'm walking away from the church completely. But
exactly.
But when the Holy Spirit comes in our life, there should be evidence of that.
There's got to be change. Yeah, there's got to be evidence.
We've talked about kind of changing gears for a second. We talked about Philip Hughes a couple times. You've mentioned Philip Hughes.
Yes.
And of course, you and I, when I first went back, you and I and Phil and Ray were the vocals. And Philip has been gone at this taping that we're recording this. He's been gone 2 years. And it's unbelievable that Phil's been gone that long. Do you have any thoughts on Phil?
I love Phil. Phil, and it's still, that's one of those things that it still hurts.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. It still stings. Because we were close. Or I felt like we were close. Phil,
vocally, you and Phil sounded great together. Vocally,
oh, buddy. I mean, we could he and I, and that's what we were excited with you coming on board. I'm like, how's this going to work? Not that I didn't think you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's a tenor singer too. We got 3 tenors and a bass singer. Man, that next album's going to be sky high. But yeah, I mean, I thought, man, we're going to be able to mash it forevermore.
Oh yeah.
And there's that. I think there's a clip or 2 of us singing in Missouri.
Yes, Missouri. Yes.
Yes, and there's a huge crowd, and I think we're singing like Saints Will Rise and I'll Not Turn Back.
Yeah.
And it's the 3 of us. And because we all kind of we place it all right here.
Yeah, we got that point. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's just pinging off of, you can hear it just ringing through the crowd.
It'll part your hair for you. It'll part your hair for you.
Yeah. And so I thought, and me and Phil, we just joke about that, being able to, because whenever he and I are together, and he actually filled in a weekend or 2 with the Lefevres.
Right.
As well.
Okay.
There was something Jordan couldn't be there. And so he filled in, but when I got Ray, I was in Oklahoma. No, I'm sorry. I was in California.
Okay.
When Mike Lefevre called me, and it had just happened like 30 minutes ago that Phil had passed away, and I was devastated.
Yeah.
And so I called Ray, thinking Ray had already been called, and he had not.
Oh no.
And so I had to tell Ray.
Yeah.
And that was very difficult. And then because he and Ray were close too.
Yeah, they were. Very close.
And then I called, my next call was Tony Peace.
Okay.
And so, because there'd been so many times through the years that me and Phil and Tony had thought, well, we'll just put us a group together. And we're like, no, that ain't gonna work out.
Yeah.
We better not do that. That won't work. And so we'd backtrack real quick, and so I called Tony, and Tony's like, oh, you're just pulling my leg. You're whatever. You don't tell me such as that. I'm like, Tony, I mean, I'm serious. I'm hoping you're sitting down, because I'm telling you the truth. Yeah. And I explained it to him, I explained to him what just happened, and we were just devastated. Phil was a man's man.
Yeah.
I got to travel with him, and I think that was what was so good for me, going back, filling in, now that you kind of know my salvation story.
Yeah.
Going back and filling in, because I didn't want, hey man, I'm changed. I'm not the same. And I wasn't a bad person then.
Right.
But, Phil was like, and when I first went, because Phil had known, that I was apostolic and apostolic Christian. And so, when I got on the bus, he said, people change, just not much.
Yeah.
And, Phil had these little quick 1 or 2 liners, and I'd say, I promise, Phil, I promise I'm not because they were expecting, me to be this, and I wasn't. And by the end of it, by that Sunday, he was wanting me to lay hands and pray on him, because his diabetes had taken his vision.
Really? Wow.
That's so I had the opportunity to lay hands and pray with Phil, that the Lord would help Lord would touch his vision and restore his sight back to him.
Yeah.
So I was thankful that he was able to see, and I'm not bragging, because it's not me. It's not anything to do with me.
Yes.
But he felt confident enough to ask me to pray for him, and that's very humbling, because he's such a great man.
He was, man. He was just about every person we've talked to. Josh, what's the word everybody uses when it comes to Phil Hughes?
Encourager.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yes.
That's the word every guy talks about. Not just Kingsman guys from other groups have said, man, Phil Hughes called me just to encourage me, and just I mean, countless story after story after story after story.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Such an encourager.
Yeah. It's still, even just talking about it, I get tore up. Yeah. Because it was too soon. It was too. I don't get angry at God. I'm not angry at God, but I get upset, because he was only 56.
56.
I'm like, that's too young.
Yeah.
I'm 40. I'll be 43 in February. I'm not too far behind that.
Yeah, it's true.
And I'm like, that's way too early. But
well, talk about your health a little bit. You've had some health issues the last several years. If you want to.
Oh, I don't mind. I don't mind. Yeah. So I came off the road in 2019, and by 2020, we thought I had lupus. I had all the symptoms.
Right.
And so, but they, I had a positive ANA. In fact, all the initial test results came back positive for it. High titer, speckled, all you know, and so they sent me to, I was supposed to go see a rheumatologist, but it was right in the middle of COVID, so getting in with anybody was impossible.
Yeah, right.
And so I'm at church. I got through. I was playing bass for the praise team. We were practicing, rehearsing. I get through. I go sit down. My wife's a nurse.
Okay.
And so I sit down beside her, and I felt something funny on the right side of my face.
Okay.
And like something tingling. And then all of a sudden I couldn't feel my face, the right side of my face. And I look at my wife and I'm like, I can't, something feels off. And she's like, oh, you're fine. Just turn around, because we were right in the Sunday school. And, and then it dawned on her. She's like, look at me. And so I turn around and she said, smile. And I go to smile and the right side of my face wouldn't budge.
Wow.
And she's like, get up. So I go to get up, and I'm like losing feeling on my whole right side.
Wow.
So they get me to the back, call an ambulance, rush me to the hospital. They determined that I've had a stroke on the right side. I'm not able to speak very well. My right side's not functioning.
Yeah.
So they airlift me to Erlanger in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Right.
Which is a trauma 1 hospital. And so they give me TPA, which is to bust up blood clots in the brain. And thank God they caught it, because they only give it to you within like a 3-hour window.
Okay.
For it to work and to restore function and everything in your body.
Right.
So long story short, that was the first stroke I'd had. So they're automatically thinking, well, let's test and let's get into the rheumatologist. He's had all these other lupus symptoms, and lupus can cause your blood can coagulate, and cause blood clots and cause strokes. So they get me, and he determines, it's a Russian doctor, he determines that they can't, it's not lupus, which I'm grateful, but I'm like, so what's going on? And so I had 7 of those.
Wow.
Yes. And, it was, the wildest thing. And the third one, I lost my right side.
Oh, wow.
And couldn't move. I couldn't move. I couldn't feel my right side very weak. It's kind of like when your arm falling asleep and it's starting to wake up, it's stuck there.
Okay.
And so I go into church. I get out of the hospital when this happens. I go right to church, because I believe in the healing power of God.
Yeah.
I believe in common sense. I believe in doctors. I believe in medicines.
Yeah.
I also believe in divine healing. And so I'm on, I go in, and my wife's on one side holding me up, and one of the preachers there at the church is there holding me up. My pastor's praying over me. And instantly, when when your arm wakes up and that electric tingling sensation goes through your body, well, that's what it was like, instant. And all of a sudden, I can feel my whole body. They let go of me. I start walking.
Yeah. Wow.
I regained all of my functions. Everything.
Wow.
It's as if I'd never had a stroke, as if nothing had ever happened.
Right.
Woo.
And
that's good.
And I'm, and all I can tell you is that the Lord touched me. The Lord healed my body that day.
Yeah.
But those are faith building moments for me and my family as well. That the Lord does still heal. The Lord does still touch. The Lord uses doctors and medications, and He also is a divine healer.
Yeah.
And He touched me. And long story short, come find out. So we still couldn't figure out what was going on. God sent a doctor to the church, like a legitimate doctor from in the Army, and she'd joined our church, and she'd heard kind of what was going on. She said, come see me. So she runs all the tests, put me on blood thinners, put me on all the things to help me. And she sends me to I was losing my vision at this point. And this is fast forward a year or two after that experience. And so I'm losing my vision. I'm losing my ability to speak, get words out.
Wow.
Balance is off. I would be falling. So they're thinking maybe it's MS. So, but she tells me what she thinks it is. And they send me to a neuro-ophthalmologist. They do a lumbar puncture, check my pressure, in the brain fluid in my brain, and it was too high. And it was causing, I was having seizures. It was causing all these issues. So I ended up having to have brain surgery where they put like a shunt. It's a BP shunt. It goes down my brain. It drains the fluid down into my abdomen. But that ended up causing me to have epilepsy.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And so right now, I actually feel the best I have felt in years. I dropped 75 pounds. So I'm trying to do things, that are healthy. As far as my daily life, I feel great. They on epilepsy medication. I'm supposed to go see another rheumatologist because they're still trying to rule out, that it could be lupus.
Wow.
Just from, flare-ups and some of the other things. But honestly, outside of having, those issues, I feel the best that I have felt in many years,
That's
and
great.
I say that that's the sustaining power of God.
Yes.
Through doctors, through medication, and through divine healing.
That's right.
So, but that's just been some of the health stuff. But you don't expect to go through that, 37, 38 years old.
No.
They say the check engine light comes on at 40, but it was a little early for me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I told somebody the other day when you hit 50, check engine light comes on, but not necessarily. Sometimes it comes on.
No, it's a little early. Yeah, I blame it on Waffle House and late nights going to bed on the bus.
Yeah,
I did not take care of myself.
We all like the Waffle House, don't we? We like.
I still like a Waffle House.
Oh, me too, man. Me too.
Buttered grits with some cheese in it. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Oh, mercy, Jeremy. Before we wrap up, do you have another good Kingsman road story you could share with us that comes to mind?
I do, and he'll probably kill me for this.
Uh-oh.
Because I don't know if he knows this. I don't even know if he knows about it.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
So this is on Brian.
Me?
Okay.
Yes.
All right. We got to hear this.
Okay. Now, don't get mad. And if I'm telling more than I need to tell, or if it's something you don't want told, then cut this out. I'm sorry. But I still to this day, I'll get to thinking about this and I'll get so tickled.
Oh, wow.
So Brian sleepwalks. Am I correct?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
This is the second time we've heard this, but go ahead. Yes.
Oh,
okay. And this may be another instance. I don't know. So, I would stay up a lot of nights and help whoever was driving. I'd talk to him, whatever. So I can't remember if this was like 2 or 3 or 4, whatever. Well, this MCI had hydraulic doors that would open and close.
Yeah.
And so we heard the hydraulic door open.
They remind you of the Star Trek.
Yes, they do.
Star Trek show, whether you hit the button and
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And you hear that same sound when they open.
Yeah.
And so we hear the sound of and you hear the door slam, as far as it hitting the track and it's open. And I look out there and there's Brian. And I knew he was sleepwalking. And he goes to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this is so, because I had never seen anybody sleepwalk a day in my life. And this is horrible. I mess with him. And I feel awful. I don't feel bad. I did.
What do you mean? Now you got to explain how you said
you don't know. Me and Ray and Phil, we were dying. Phil was sitting up there watching football. And I went back there and I said, watch this. And so, of course, Ray's driving, so he doesn't exactly know. Phil's watching. So Brian gets out of the restroom, and I don't know how. And you're sleepwalking, but you had this process down pat. I don't know how you need to do, like in your sleep you were doing this, and so he hit the button to go back, and the door swings. And it's pretty quick, And as soon as he hit it, I hit the button again before he could walk through it, and it closes. So he could.
Oh no!
He hits the door, and so he reaches back over, hits the button again. It goes to open, and I hit it, and it closes. And I bet I did this 3 or 4 times, and he's hitting the door. I know, it's awful. Aren't you glad I got saved?
He's asking for forgiveness now. No.
Those are some of the things that they used to do. I feel bad about.
Oh my God!
And I mean, Phil was. I was basically on my knees at this point, hitting the button because I was laughing so hard. And I thought, this has got to wake him up at some point. And I finally quit. You hit the button and you go on to bed, and you turn around and close it, and you go right to sleep, like nothing had ever. And I've never seen nobody sleepwalk before. And me and Phil was in the floor laughing, and I thought, we're surely waking him up. Yeah. And Ray's cousin, what's going on back here? What are y'all doing? What's that ruckus? Yeah. So that's, and I ain't gonna lie, I'll tell that to a few people here and there.
My God.
That story's been told a few times.
I mean, Josh, you think you know somebody.
Yeah, really.
You think you know somebody, and you put your trust in somebody, and they do you that way.
But you were sleepwalking, and you just right into the door, and you just stand there. And I'm thinking, this is not waking him up. And it's like you would go back, like you would rewind and hit the button again. And you couldn't go through the door.
God.
Ray missed a little bit bad when we interviewed him, but he didn't go into all this detail about Brian running to the door and all.
He said during my first tenure that Randy Miller would.
Yeah, Randy would do it.
And back in those days.
Oh, so I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah, the door would open, and Randy was holding the door, so I couldn't go through the door. He reached above my head and grabbed the door. So every time I was trying to open the door, Randy was holding it. You know.
See,
Josh, see the kind of people I had to travel with. I mean,
see, what's bad is me and Randy work together in the studio all the time. I talk to Randy all the time, so I'm gonna call him. And so me and you had the exact same idea.
You boys
had to be, because I didn't hear that from nobody. I just thought it'd be funny to watch because you were hitting the button to go through. I'm like, no.
It's them Kingsmen boys. And
but you would stand, but it wasn't like you would stand there for like seconds.
Yeah.
And then you would hit the button again to open it. And then it would happen. You would hit the door and you'd stand there forever. It seemed like forever. And then you'd go to, so it wasn't like it was just a continuous thing.
Right.
God, it was hilarious.
Man.
I don't know.
That's why we call it Behind the Crown.
Behind the Crown, essentially. And hopefully I get a crown after that story.
That's right.
Yeah.
Jeremy, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us on this episode of Behind the Crown podcast. We've been looking forward to getting talking to you, and we enjoyed it, man. Enjoyed catching up.
Well, same here. I was honored that y'all asked. Very honored.
Yeah, Jeremy, you take care of yourself, man. We're praying for you. And,
yes, sir.
You're my brother, and I
same
love
here.
you. And if we can ever do anything to help you, man, you just holler at me. And but we're always here for you, and we appreciate you. Appreciate your tenure with the Kingsmen, but more than that, appreciate your brother and your friendship.
Yes, sir. Same to you, my friend.
Thank you
very much. Love you. Yes, sir.
Join us next time on Behind the Crown podcast. Hope you enjoyed this great episode with our special guest, Jeremy Peace, tonight. Feel free to share this episode on your social media platforms. Listen to us on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. And then also these portions of these interviews are on YouTube as well. We hope you enjoyed this and look for the next episode next week.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Behind the Crown podcast with your hosts, Brian Hudson and Josh Griffin. If you would, please like, rate, and share this episode. Join us again for another episode of the Behind the Crown podcast.